My name is Mike Foster, the Entrepreneur's Mentor, and welcome to my interview series, A Zoom With. I regularly share my thoughts to help you to start, develop and grow your business with my video snippets on my YouTube channel. But this series of videos is to introduce you to trusted experts with a view of them sharing their thoughts and their tips with you. And today I'm delighted to be joined by Sam Stretton, who's the Managing Director of Logicom Hub Limited. She's an air, road and sea trainer for dangerous goods and general logistics. And welcome, Sam.
Hi, thank you for having me.
I'm so glad you can join us. So Sam, I've got about a handful of questions to ask you today. It'd be great if you can just share those who are watching this video back, some of your tips and your thoughts. And really to start with, just ask you to introduce yourself and your business, please.
Okay, so my name is Sam Stretton. I run a business called Logicom Hub Limited. And the whole aim of Logicom Hub is really to help shippers, freight forwarders and carriers mitigate the risk to their business when transporting dangerous goods, both domestically and internationally. So we're helping them mitigate the risk. We want to ensure that their employees understand the roles and responsibilities. And along with the risk is obviously penalties. So we want to help our customers avoid penalties and just to keep everybody safe in the supply chain, really. As you said there, Mike, we deal with lots of aspects of logistics. I've worked in the freight industry for over 20 years, so I can help businesses with many different aspects of moving cargo, domestically and internationally. But we do tend to focus specifically these days on helping shippers, freight forwarders, carriers move their dangerous goods cargo. And we do that really by two ways. Our first method is by acting as a dangerous goods safety advisor, which is a mandatory requirement for those carriers moving by road. But of course, we know that logistics these days is not that linear. Shippers have demands from their buyers and they have to move stuff by all different modes of transport, so air, road and sea. So we're able to help educate our customers and build processes that help mitigate the risk for air, road and sea. So we really look at, are they compliant with the regulations? Because every transport mode has their own set of rules. Do they have good working processes in place? Are those processes audited, managed and amended as necessary? And then of course the second element of our business is really the training side of stuff. And that's when we kind of work face to face with our businesses in terms of getting their staff up and running through various training formats. We tend to do classroom, interactive, online learning, virtual learning, of course, these days is the big thing. But rather than just training on the regulations, we want to make sure that the people that come to our sessions understand how to use those regulations for their own products. So we're just very conscious on, making sure that they understand their role, what their responsibility is, how they help their organization mitigate the risk, how they help their business avoid penalties, and how do they keep everybody safe. And that's really what the key thing is. So that's really how I would describe Logicom Hub.
Lovely. Thank you for that. Thank you. And really insightful in terms of the services you can offer and support people. And we'll explore the dangerous goods, I'm sure, with my questions I've got planned for you.
Yeah.
The topical question I'm asking everybody at the moment is, how are you finding the current business climate and how are your clients finding the current business climate?
Yeah, so I think with many businesses, we've had to adapt and change. For me personally, obviously I'm doing a lot of stuff, a lot of training sessions now by Zoom. So instead of doing big 2 or 3 day sessions, we're chunking that up into smaller sessions to make it a bit more palatable, rather than sit on a video for all day. So we've got those types of things rolling out. We're very lucky because we've got a suite of online dangerous goods training courses as well. And that is helping people stay educated and informed during this whole thing. And obviously dangerous goods is highly regulated. So it's been really important for us to work with the government agencies, the Civil Aviation Authority, the Department of Transport, to make sure we're in line with how they want us to continue educating and making sure businesses are compliant. So that's been a big part of that. But for most of my customers, actually, they're all in work. You know, they're either in manufacturing, so they're running at a reduced head count and shift, to make sure that their business is still operating. Of course, I deal with a lot of freight forwarders and carriers, and those guys are basically keeping the world going. You know, they're pretty much unsung heroes of right now. I know the NHS are doing a fabulous job, but these guys are also working day and night to get PPE moved, to get medical tests moved, to you know, get all the equipment, food supplies that we need while we're during our lockdown period. So those guys are doing a tremendous job, but it's tough for them right now. Obviously the airlines are not operating as they would normally. So the capacity is reduced. A lot of the airlines actually are taking out the seats out of their aircraft, and they're using both the belly space and that passenger deck and putting cargo on there so they can maximize the amount of cargo that they can move. But along with that, you know, everybody wants space, and therefore the rates, you know, getting stuff on board that aircraft has caused the rates to go up ridiculously high. So it's very expensive. Ocean ports are moving now, especially ex-China. They're all back operating, but a lot of businesses are not there to receive the goods once the goods get to the destination. And this is going to cause a bit of a headache, actually, for a lot of businesses, and a lot of cost implications, because we've got containers all in the wrong place. They can't be moved. They can't be unloaded. It's a bit chaotic, but yeah, we're I think the industry is doing really well, you know, of keeping everything going.
Excellent. Thank you. Thanks for that insight. So I just want to refer to a blog of yours that I read. And in that blog, you were talking about transportation of dangerous goods such as lithium batteries. So what really are the dangers for carriers of moving dangerous goods?
Moving dangerous goods or lithium batteries? Well, I mean, both actually, I guess, is that. So, I mean, lithium batteries is one of my favorite topics, actually. So the use of lithium batteries has grown exponentially over the last couple of years, you know, and if you think about your household, you've probably got 4 or 5 articles, if not more, with lithium batteries in it. Children's toys have them in it, our mobile phones, our laptops, our Kindles, our vacuum cleaners, all sorts of stuff has a lithium battery that's rechargeable or we throw away. And generally lithium batteries are safe, and but they have this really high energy source. And if they're not treated carefully, or there's a manufacturing fault, then they can catch fire very, very quickly. And when they do catch fire, it's like an explosion. The heat that they produce is probably 400 times more than a normal fire. So while they're very safe for us to use in the household, when they get damaged, or if any dangerous good is subject to the rigors of transport, then it becomes, you know, something that could have a catastrophic effect. So carriers are very sensitive on how these articles are packed. They have to be packed very securely to make sure that nothing can impact that product while it's moving. You know, it's got to be clearly marked and labeled so we can put it in the correct area of the truck, or the correct area of the aircraft, or the correct area of the boat. certain dangers react with each other, right? Or they react to temperature change or pressure change. You know, aerosols, for example, are compressed gases. So if they're subject to pressurized elements, then they could pop. So it's very difficult for carriers. You know, carriers have to make sure that they understand what they're moving and how to deal with that hazard. You know, it's all about having the right information to take the right actions. Yeah.
More complex than we perhaps perceive ourselves. So that probably leads me on to the next question, which is, you know, I know we've sort of talked about this very briefly, but what sort of things are classified as dangerous goods that perhaps we don't consider to be such?
Yeah, so there's 9 different classes of dangerous goods, and whenever I talk to anybody and I say, so what do you think are dangerous goods? You know, the first thing that anybody says is obviously explosives, right? It's the first thing that pops into everybody's head, and of course explosives are considered a major hazard, but all sorts of things that we probably use every day that we wouldn't consider it being a hazard. But so for example, aerosols, you know, I'm sure most people have sprayed deodorant on or air freshener around the room, or, you know, sprayed their pet with kind of a smell or whatever. But those things are obviously pressurized. So, and we have different types of gases that we deal with, flammable gas, non-flammable, and of course toxic gases like carbon dioxide. That would be there. But probably the most common thing that we transport is flammable liquids. And if you think about the amount of fuel that we need in order to drive cars, keep us warm, all those kind of stuff. And I'm sure, I mean, it was a beautiful weekend this weekend, so people were doing DIY. They probably put their paintbrushes in white spirit or turpentine. Those, of course, are dangerous goods, flammable liquid. A lot of the varnishes and paints that we use outside in the garden are flammable liquids, and that's why we have to be careful when we dispose of those. But yeah, lots of stuff. I mean, if you look under the kitchen sink, you're going to find acids in there, oven cleaners, bleachers, you know. And while these things individually are not considered hazardous, but well, of course it can harm us if we interact with it in a negative way. But when it's shipped in bulk, and it's subjected to vibrations and temperature changes, then it really becomes like a walking a walking or a moving danger that we have to deal with. Okay. Yeah. So it's really important that, you know, when we do go to ship any of these everyday items, that we we have a little red flag in our head to say, oh, let me just check if that's dangerous, and do I need to do anything special with it? And of course, you know, following the regulations just keeps everybody safe. Yeah.
And we were speaking off air really about the risk of, you know, boats catching fire and aeroplanes potentially dropping out of the sky. I guess that's a reputation risk that people don't want, isn't it, at the end of the day, to be seen to be responsible for that happening?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And this is why it's really essential for businesses to make sure they understand their product and what the risk is in moving that product. You know, the airlines and the ocean carriers have raised the roof on penalties over the last particularly over the last 12 months. I mean, I didn't know this until probably about a year ago, but every 60 days there is a fire at sea. And most of the reasons for the fire is for undeclared or misdeclared dangerous goods. And they reckon that in a year, we probably ship 10 million containers as undeclared or misdeclared dangerous goods. And for the carriers themselves, they're putting their property at risk, the crew's lives at risk, and of course the environment at risk. So, you know, for a business, it's just not worth the risk in not checking this out. I mean, I think the penalty now for an ocean carrier, if you're found giving them undeclared dangerous goods, is about $25,000 per container, which is nothing if you compare it to an incident at sea, where you cause the risk of lives to be lost, the property damage itself, and then of course the cleanup of the ocean. I mean, then you're going into the millions of pounds worth of penalties, and it's just unbelievable that businesses would even attempt to move cargo and put lives at risk rather than just pay a slightly higher fee for their freight rate. I mean, it's ludicrous. Yeah.
So it's I guess this again is linked to my last question. Really, is why does someone have to be formally trained if they're transporting dangerous goods?
Yeah, so the regulations are quite complex. They're written in a legal language, and it's handy to have somebody help you translate that into reality. You know, you can read the regulations, but you know, it's important to be able to transfer that knowledge and skill into your work environment and put it into everyday context, as well as, you know, interpreting what the regulations are asking you. And each mode of transport has their own set of regulations. So, you know, you can't say for air freight, hey, I know what I'm doing, so therefore I know what I'm doing with road and sea, because that's just not the case. The DFT and the CAA want people to understand the regulations and have refresher training, as well as being competent in their job. The regulations change every 2 years, so we've got to stay on top of the new technology that comes out. There may be an article that wasn't classed as dangerous that now is classed as dangerous because we've seen several incidents. You know, years ago, lithium batteries wouldn't have been on the list for danger until you know, incidents occur, and then we have to elevate its status in how we handle it to make sure we're doing the right thing. But yeah, I mean, you shouldn't be transporting dangerous goods unless you are certified, you have a CAA certification, or you are certified by Road and Sea, or are under direct supervision of somebody that has a certification. It's really important. You know, at the end of the day, you don't want the risk on you as well. You want to feel confident and comfortable that you understand what you're doing, and you know, you're keeping the supply chain safe.
I would hope it would be anybody who's watching who's transporting dangerous goods. It's just a tick in a box that they feel that they know they've got to deliver.
Yeah, yeah, it's a no-brainer for me. It's a bit, yeah, it's like customs. It's got to be done. Yes, it's regulatory. Yes, it's compliance. But you know, at the end of the day, it keeps everybody, you know, safe, and that's the key thing.
Thank you, Sam. Thank you very much. And I know that you're a respected source within the industry, and I know you've got some great training material that you, as you said earlier, you either deliver face-to-face or online, which is really appropriate at the current time. And I guess if people are still furloughed, they can still do their training.
Yeah.
So fantastic. So thank you, Sam. Thanks for your time. Thanks for sharing some thoughts around your expertise with us today. Much appreciated.
Yeah, thank you, Mike. Lovely to speak to you. Take care.
So please subscribe to my YouTube channel and get notified each time I publish one of these new interviews. And I'll see you next time for a Zoom with whoever's next.